Rick and Morty comic issue 44. The origin of the Vindicators. I got excited to see this story from the title alone. It seems too good to be true to have a third story with the Vindicators. We start out in the past, with Vanis and her on a damaged planet thanks to World Ender, who wants to destroy the universe. I hope you learn why. And is heading for Vanis' hometown. He wants to compile a team of Earth's mightiest heroes to stop World Ender, saying that no one's better at destroying than Earthlings. But Earthlings aren't known for having advanced technology. You'd think literally any other race would be known as better at destroying, because they'd have better lasers. A spaceship shows up on Earth in front of Rick, who asks Morty amusingly, "Ugh, go get my thing, Morty, the thing I use to kill planet-level terrors. The blue one, not the red one, Morty." I wish I knew why he specified the blue one, since apparently he has two, so both would be just as good. He says he's got an hour before his favorite show comes on, and to develop on him more, we actually learn what the show's like. It's like an intergalactic version of the afternoon shows like Jerry Springer. Then the Vindicators show up to ask for Rick's help. How do they know him? Rick asks if there's a comic cosplay contest, lampshading their appearances. I guess they know him because, for the same reason Rick's famous in general, but they're willing to look past his shady past then. Morty's excited at seeing superheroes who want their help, and Rick says that he's a loner like Batman, and he gets his name wrong. And Morty explains that Rick thinks that if he acts like he doesn't know someone's name, he'll seem cooler than them. Morty asks for superpowers like invincibility, and Rick calls him out in front of all of them. "Oh, sure, you'd be very heroic, wouldn't you, Morty? The champion of the ladies' locker room, defender of the women's restroom." And the show proved him right. I wonder if this took place after that episode of the show, and the writer was mocking that. That'd be awesome. Vance puts his hand on his shoulder and says that all he needs to do to be a hero is see people in trouble and be willing to help. Rick jokingly calls Million Ants Ground Beef Man. Then Vance says the team name, and Rick satisfyingly calls out, "Oh, I thought that V stood for Vainglorious," which insults Vance for his arrogance. Rick complains that the cyborg lizard looks like someone just read the Idiot's Guide to Cyberorganisms. Who's his creator, Dr. Fartenstein? Just like Million Ants, the lizard tries to politely give exposition to Rick instead of being realistically offended at his insult. I wish Rick explained why he thinks his creator did a bad job though, aside from the fact that it seems like he has just one, mostly organic arm. And his torso has no reason to benefit from being metallized aside from being made tougher. I guess his torso was injured, so it had to be metallized. Bunny's a way better cyborg because of her extendable robot arms and legs with super strength. But aside from having a camera eye, what does this guy have? I guess that was supposed to be why he insulted him, and he doesn't explain why because he thinks it's obvious and that'd be explaining the joke. But how does he expect him to learn if you won't tell him? He asked someone if he was hit by a radioactive train, satisfyingly making fun of how stupid the backstories of superhero comics are. Especially how they seem to use radioactive as a synonym for magical. He says that after his parents died in a train accident, he gained the ability to summon ghost trains. Wouldn't you have had your magical ability from birth? He wouldn't have gained it, he'd have thought about trains from that and discovered he could do this all along. Rick naturally asks what ghost train means, wondering if trains have souls. Alan just says he doesn't have to explain himself to him, even though he was fine with explaining himself to him a second ago. And Rick satisfyingly says, "But I feel like you should be able to explain it to someone." Yeah. Alan says they don't need someone with an attitude like this. Then Vance asks if he knows what he thinks, very predictably planning on callously refusing to let Rick help save the world because he was hurting the feelings of a few people. And yet he's trying to present himself as the good guy just because he's polite. I don't even see what Vance has to offer. It makes sense that experienced superheroes would think they don't necessarily need Rick's help to save the world, but if they really cared about saving the world, they wouldn't take even the slightest bit of risk and make sure Rick helps them just in case. Their feelings be damned. So this kind of proves that Rick is right to dismiss them, and also foreshadows what selfish people they're revealed to be in the show. He asks if Rick knows what he thinks, and Rick snarks, "Yeah, you think, I hope I don't look like an idiot in the suit." Vance tells him that Rick would be a hero if he knew that those with power should help those who don't. He has done that before. He saved an alien king after he was wrongfully imprisoned by his evil wife. Rick refuses to admit he's right and just arbitrarily calls Vance's truth a dumb idea. World Ender's forces land to start a battle, as we see a spaceship shoot lasers at some tall buildings. Somehow Morty's still happy instead of disappointed in Rick, though I guess he knew Rick would be like this all along and is just happy to see the heroes. Rick gets tossed a uniform in case he changes his mind about actually being useful to a lot of people. I wonder if there's a version of Rick that did join the Vindicators. He asks why they're acting like that vest is a uniform when only Vance wears it. If that's a problem in any superhero comics, then that's a pretty embarrassing, jarring problem. And there was actually backlash against the Vindicators episode? Rick was right. It's satisfying to see a fictional character finally call this genre out on things. It seems like the superhero genre sticks with a lot of traditions, even when they don't make any sense. It's bad enough when a plot hole gets used once, but it's much worse when it gets used a million times. We see the Vindicators fighting bad guys. The first panel of it is so dark, and there's so many people in it at once, so I can't really get invested in the panel because I'm too overwhelmed by things to look at all at once. It involves too many people. Morty asks why they're not helping the good guys, and Rick just says that good and evil are human constructs trying to put order to people's simple universe. I guess he means universes in life, because the universe isn't simple, and he should know that. Why doesn't he just say, they're saving the world, so I don't have to? Because he tried to save a universe before. That's why they went into the head of a Rick. And it'd be so much faster for him to just tell Morty the truth, that these guys are fighting, so why should I? Morty asks why World Ender's trying to destroy world if he's not evil. Then Rick shows that reality is more complicated than that as he holds something. Maybe this is how he gets his sustenance. Or maybe Mr. or Mrs. World Ender is a real pain in the ass and this is how he works out his aggression. The last thing doesn't mean he's not evil. Morty says that maybe what really matters is what you can live with, and he can't live with everything dying. So he decides to team up with the heroes, who are at least trying and are the best chance. He's not taking one of Rick's ray guns with him though, like he did at the start of Season 5 just fine, so he's got no reason to think he could help. He'd just distract them because one of them would have to protect him. I wish he had a thought bubble explaining that he's only going there to lure Rick to them to force him to help them. That's the only way he'll think that this is useful. Rick asks why he thinks they're their best chance, even though there's more than one of them and they're experienced fighters. Jerry asks Rick if he has a bomb shelter or panic room, and Rick's arrogant. Too arrogant to prepare for failure. But hasn't he prepared for failure before? He has to have. He prepared for failure by making a prison in case he gets trapped in it so he can escape it. He prepared for failure to keep his own portal gun from being stolen because the portal gun had an alarm on it. He prepared for failure because he has house security lasers and stuff just in case intruders break into the house. He does that way more often than not. I would assume he did have a bomb shelter. Why wouldn't he make a bomb shelter if he made Clackspire Labyrinth specifically to prepare for failure? Not to mention he had a basement that he had an alien trapped in the show. You would think he would make the basement as a tornado shelter at that point. Why not? A bad guy hits the Vindicators away, and I guess he's either too occupied with fighting someone else, or is politely letting them flirt with each other. Which is hopefully there to make fun of unnecessary shipping and superhero stuff. Oh, I just noticed there's some Vindicators here that I never saw before. Like one of them that's getting sent away. Those ones didn't even get the chance to talk. I wonder what that's supposed to satirize. I guess the reason that even all of the city buildings are red is because World Ender did it with his magic. It's annoying seeing everything in a red tint. Rick runs up to Morty with big fists that block stuff, telling Morty that he's his best chance, and explains humorously, "My show comes on in 20 minutes. There's no way I can enjoy it with all this racket going on." World Ender keeps getting hit by lasers and stuff, and Rick tells everyone to focus their powers here. Then he gets greeted by a few of the silent Vindicators. I love the designs of them. Rick asks them, "What's the deal?" They just keep you in the back or what? Yep. So Worldender gets hit by a freeze ray in the worst spot, and then Rick hits him with a laser. Makes me wonder why he didn't just do that in the first place if it's so easy. But I guess he needed to make sure the laser wouldn't miss. Then the story ends with Morty kind of betraying Rick by telling the news that the Vindicator saved the day and not Rick as well. I guess it's to spite Rick for not immediately agreeing to help the Vindicators. I wish there was a thought bubble that explained that. Why isn't Rick holding his ray gun here? He could easily point at the ray gun in his hand and say that he saved the day, and people would be more likely to believe him because Morty's younger and Rick's way more well known, probably, than the Vindicators from another planet. Then we see Noob, because the Vindicators need an intern to handle non-essential superhero jobs like coffee, mail, and dangling live chickens over the lizard man's head for him to eat. Why does he have a robot claw arm instead of both arms that are simply made of metal with good hands? Rick was right about him. I hope there aren't any superhero comics that are that stupid about cyborgs. Because Sad AM is a kid's show and it got cyborgs right. Morty's given a communicator and told very strictly, don't call us. Well, yeah, Morty didn't even do anything. This issue is about the Vindicators having to fight Worldender on Earth, of all planets, and after a satisfying scene where Rick calls the superheroes out on how illogical and stupid writing of superhero comics can be, Rick defeats Worldender with 2 lasers. I guess the second laser was a one-time deal and the first laser wasn't able to kill him on its own, so he needed to stun Worldender first. It was funny that Rick only went to fight the Worldender because his show comes on 20 minutes and he couldn't hear it. And Morty had a reason to say the Vindicators saved the day, I guess, because Rick said that the Vindicators should combine their powers against this guy. So maybe it confused him into thinking they were just as important as him. Still, I'd expect Rick to be able to make lasers so good that he could destroy this guy without needing the Vindicators' help. Well, that was a fun story.